Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Zed, Pip took 2 of the bikes you were working on and just did something with them. They belonged to the 2 guys who are now dead, so you didn't really care. All you were going to do is use them for spare parts.
Yeah,
And you still might use them for spare parts. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll actually ask what are you doing?
Just making sure that this accident, and I do like the air quote thing that just happened when they were practicing riding their bikes around, doesn't come back on us and bite us in the butt.
Smart. I toss him a few random spare parts and I'll tell him throw these by the bikes and then we can tell them that they tested them out because they did their bikes first.
Brilliant.
Right. Zed, roll a help. It's plus history.
That is, let's see, my history with Pip is +1. So that is a 12.
Okay. So Pip, when I ask you to make that roll, you get an additional +1.
Cool.
So some time progresses.
I want to do one thing. I want to open my
Sure.
brain to the psychic maelstrom to see if I
Okay.
can learn anything about the Cyclopses.
All right. Okay, the psychic maelstrom is kind of just this weird thing that kind of happened during the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
No one really knows what it is. So when you open your brain to it, how does that respond? How do you respond to it? How does it interact with you?
You mean I just get my eyes just blow out and blood starts pouring from where my nose should be.
Okay. And then what does your character kind of see as you're opening your brain? How is how are you getting that information? Is it just instantaneous knowledge, or is it images, or do you see little little demon comes and talks to you and tells you things, or
no? I see a woman in a white dress who just calmly explains things to me.
Okay. So roll it.
Roll. So I rolled a 9.
Okay.
And I have no plus weird.
So, the woman in the white dress, she if you've done this before and you are getting a lot of information and it's really clear, you can actually hear her say things, but she's not able to talk at this time. So you'd see her trying to talk, but she kind of mimes out the process that most of them, the ritual that they go through as they do their blinding ritual. She literally mimes it out, and you see her actually poke her own eye out.
All right.
During that ritual. So you, I'm going to say you get a +1 on any interaction you have with them because you did this. Because you understand their rituals now.
All right.
Okay. All right. So I guess it's getting late in the day, and Zed, you're finishing working on the bikes.
Actually, I think I'll take that as I kind of better understand that they're not actually cannibals.
Yeah.
what they're actually about.
Right. It's like a rite of passage and
Mm-hmm.
those sorts of things.
They're actually vegans.
No, they only eat insects.
Ew. I like that.
So Gary found the parts that you needed, Zed, and so Gary and Scott found the parts anyway. Scott's
Okay.
basically attached to Gary's hip.
Okay. So like we got the other 3 bikes kind of figured out like in actually pretty decent time. And then like so because they like actually helped and whatever, and I have 2 less bikes to deal with now. I'll get started on their bikes, like Gary and Scott. And I don't know, talk a little bit to like Pip and Shitty, who I kind of know of a little bit. Like they've been around in town enough and done enough stuff that I've at least got a sense of their reputation. So it's like, well, you're here. uh, I suppose people usually expect like sociability and stuff. So
Well, Shitty's also a super antisocial type of character. So
Mm-hmm.
so I'll make those like, awkward like yeah, so like talking is the thing I'm doing right now, and you'll be like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit over here now, and I'll be like, great.
And while this awkward interaction's going on, I kind of get bored. So I'm like, there's a fence around the junkyard, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of climb up on top of the fence, and I'm like kind of trying to like walk across the top of it, like balancing back and forth, just like fucking around.
Okay. As you're doing that, you see the rest of the Cyclops' gang start pulling around a corner, come and get their bikes.
And I just really nonchalant, like it doesn't even faze me. Like I have nothing to worry about, so I'm just still doing the same thing.
Okay. Are you gonna tell anybody or anything?
Cyclopses are coming.
I kind of, oh boy. So I quickly finish whatever it was I was doing, bolting something to a frame, and then wander up to the front gate of my junkyard.
Okay, so as you reach the front gate, they arrive. Cleve jumps off one of the bikes to go and pick up his, and
Cleve?
two of his other guys. Yeah, Cleve.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like Cleve.
Oh, Cleve.
Like like a greeting, right?
Right. Okay. Zed. Where's the guys I left with you?
They well, I did their bikes first because they just happened to be first in line, and they took off doing a test drive. I haven't seen them since.
Well, where did they go?
Oh, truth be told, I don't really know. I told them to like basically just turn circles around the junkyard if they really wanted to, but they roared off, and I haven't heard nothing since.
And I kind of look down from up above, like from the vantage point, and I'm like, they took off that way. They said they were going to take a test run at the track.
Okay. He's like, he kind of goes along with that right now. So he's like, well, are you finished with my bike?
Yeah, I got the other 3 done.
All right. So they go to get that, and they notice that Shitty's guys are there. He's like, what the fuck are these dudes being here?
That one, and I point to Scott, is trying to learn the egghead arts. That one, I think, is just here because of his friend. Shitty, he lives around here. He wanted some work done too.
All right,
Told him to wait till.
can you give me a manipulate?
Oh, this is gonna be awesome. Okay, 7. And oh yeah, it's under the keyboard. Manipulate is what, like hot?
Yeah.
Manipulates plus hot.
Alright, so yeah, that'll be a 7, straight 7.
All right. So he's like, "Nah, I'm pretty sure Shitty is one of the biker gangs.
Well,
Are you?"
yeah. They wanted work. I made him wait till after yours was done. Also, his little minion is trying to learn how to be an egghead.
He doesn't like it, but he goes with it, and he hands you about 2 barter worth of odds and ends. Like what kind of barter do you prefer? Like any type of currency?
I actually prefer like payment in kind. So if there's like, machinery junk, I would prefer that. Otherwise, I'll take pretty much anything I can trade because I do still need to eat and things like that, right? So,
All right. He knows. You probably worked out ahead of time, or he knows that you want like machinery type stuff. So he hands you like about 2 barter worth of gear you might be able to use.
okay, of like salvage.
Yeah, like other salvage that
All right.
they've come upon.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, and he grabs his bikes and he goes to he goes down the track to see where they might have ended up. His 2 guys might have ended up, and the gang kind of follows him. Pip, roll me a manipulate. No. Roll me doing something under fire.
Okay, doing something under fire is
It's plus cool.
Plus cool. Okay, here we go.
And you get an additional +1.
Plus 1 from the Z thing, right?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. 7, and I have +3 cool, so 10.
All right.
And 11 actually, because the +1 too.
All right. So they roll up, and yeah, you can't see this, but they see that they kind of crashed and everything, and it totally looks like people who were setting up at that building had bombarded them or anything. And you hear through the channels that night that the gang just totally killed everyone who was staying in that building.
I'm sorry.
Kind of tore it down. So
it worked.
The next morning, like I'm gonna assume that like Scott and Gary leave their bikes with me overnight because I don't quite get them done at the same time, so they're gonna come back in the morning.
Okay.
So Shitty, are you coming with Scott and Gary to get their bikes?
Yeah.
So having heard what I heard and knowing what happened, I'll like take you aside while they're like, revving engines or whatever and playing with their new toys. Like, you need to get a leash on that boy.
He'll meet his end on his own soon enough.
Fair enough. I'd rather not meet his end with him if you get my drift.
The race is tomorrow. Or today now?
Yep.
Yes, today.
I don't expect him to make it through. Be surprised if he did.
That's fair. Well, speaking of the race, you mind if I hop a ride with one of you guys to the start line? I know, got nothing to do today. So, yeah, I pack myself a little lunch and take ride with them to the race.
Okay, so who's going to be at the starting line at the beginning of the race?
I've already been there since the crack of dawn, whistling a jaunty tune while I get my scalpels and needles ready.
The rest of my gang is there. Just besides the ones that came with me, they're already waiting there.
Okay.
Including Dice is also going to drive, even though
Yeah, I mean, I've been advising against it all morning, dead. And been telling him, like, you're gonna not be able to turn on that hand, you fucking idiot, and just, like, giving him a hard time. He's like, shut up, dog, and just gets on his bike anyway.
And he's like, that knife I gave him, he's, like, taped it to the back of his hand.
Amazing.
It's stabbed.
Okay. So you see all the other biker gangs from around. There's like half a dozen different gangs and probably about 150 people, of just surrounding. Like, this is the biggest event, like, of the season for everyone around here. There's even a large contingent of the dust forming up to watch this occur. They're always on the look for that disease. Oh yeah, and Heather named the disease as just, what is it?
The red sweats.
The red sweats. Yeah, because people just basically start sweating blood as one of the first symptoms, or one of the later symptoms. So, so who among the PCs is going to be actually in the race?
I am.
Pip, are you going to try to hitch a ride in it, or?
No, what I want to do is a little bit away from the start-finish line. And did they just do one lap, or is it multiple laps?
It's a single sprint across the length of Bounty.
Okay. So
from the foothills of the mountain to the edges of the salt flats.
Okay, so maybe about 2 blocks down, I'm going to try and set up on like a rooftop where I have a good vantage point. And I'm just going to kind of chill there and load up my rifle and stuff, maybe to interfere a little bit with how this outcome happens.
Sure. Stitch, you're setting up at the start, and then you'll like follow along behind and try to kind of take care of people as they go.
Yeah, like way, way behind, like maybe a good mile or two behind, and slowly just kind of putting along, almost like if I was in a golf cart sort of thing, just seeing if there's anybody along the way.
Okay.
And
I also had an idea that, like, since I've done the race before, I know that it's generally better to not be at the front, or that's where most people are hitting traps and dying. But you also don't want to be too slow, because there's this other gang called the Filth that generally shows up super late and is super gross. They have, like, all their members have, like, missing every other tooth, and they have, like, checkered board patterns of how their hair is cut, where they just have these long strands in, like, little squares on their head, and they're fucking filthy, and there's, like, a cloud of noxious stench around them.
Gross.
Gross.
And I have one member of my gang, Christian, used to be a member of them, but his hair has grown back out because he hasn't been a part of them for a while now. But he is still missing every other tooth.
Okay.
So they're kind of like the hyenas at the end of the race there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you sort of want to not be if you want to live, the goal is to sort of move sort of quickly behind the main front, but don't take too long.
Okay.
So your strategy is coming fourth sort of deal.
Yeah.
Or 10th or 20th.
Or like, yeah. Like
you want to be like in the middle of the pack.
Yeah. cruising. It's a nice jaunty cruise.
Right.
Okay. So you see the Johns, you see the Cyclopses. They're all revving their engines. They're all getting started. Like the sun hasn't broken over Mount Bounty yet, and basically that's the time that's when the start is whenever the sun breaches over Mount Bounty in the east. So everyone's lined up. Zed, where are you just meeting at the very beginning?
Yeah, I'm gonna hang out.
Just to watch.
Yeah, I'm gonna hang out at the start line, watch them go, and then like wait for the filth to go past, because I'm gonna be coming up a little bit kind of like Stitch, except instead where he's trying to like find people to like cure them.
Sure.
I'm gonna be looking for like salvage and stuff, so I've got my little basket and like
Nice.
I've actually got like sort
You
of
have
like
an old shopping cart.
yeah, pretty much like a box on wheels that I kind of trail behind me.
Okay. So the so the huge mass of people just revving their engines on all their motorcycles is going on, and you can see behind Mount Bounty just the day brightening more and more, and then the first little bit of the sun breaches over the top of the mountains, and people just bolt off. Gary is, of course, one of the first people to just bolt out into the racetrack. Already, just at the very beginning, it turns into complete mayhem, and a mass of dust hangs in the air. You can almost immediately hear like yelling and shitty as you start going. Just a small splatter of blood hits your face just at the very beginning of the starting line. Pip, you see this massive you see the sun breach the mountains, and this rolling tide of dust filling the air. So what are you doing?
I'm looking to see who's like the first, second, and third, and seeing if I can identify which gang they're from.
Okay. Will you read a sitch for me?
Read a sitch. Here we go. 8, and that's sharp. So that's +2, so a 10.
Okay, so I'm gonna say you can register all three. In first place is the first and second place are both members of the Cyclopses who had their bikes worked on by Zed. In third place is actually Scott. Okay. However, so Scott got ahead of Gary in some way. So
I'm going to take a shot at the engine of the guy that's in first place from the Cyclops.
Okay. Roll say
yeah, is that seize by force or go aggro?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Do a seize by force because
Okay,
you're trying you're trying to seize the situation.
Okay, now does my ice cold apply to that when you go aggro? No, because that's only aggro, right? Okay,
it's only going aggro.
Okay, here we go. This is gonna be horrible. Oh shit! I rolled a 12. I'm fucking minus 2 hard, so I got a 10.
You still got a 10, so you get 3 of those options.
Okay, so I'm going to inflict terrible harm,
Okay.
suffer little harm, and you impress, dismay, or frighten your enemy.
Okay. So how much damage does that typically do?
The rifle's 3 harm.
Okay, so you do 4 harm to the bike. You hit it a little too well, and you like puncture the gas tank, and a spark ignites the whole thing, and the guy who's in first place essentially explodes off of his bike, and the bike explodes itself.
Went out with a bang.
Yeah, definitely. So there's no one there to actually deal any harm to you back. But in that explosion, you've kind of like sent a message to the Cyclops, and they kind of like slow down. So now Scott is in first place.
Cool.
Okay, Jitty, what are you up to?
I've got there's a healthy portion of my gang that just doesn't want to die, sort of, and they're sort of, but in the way that they're just sort of trying to stay near me, and I'm like completely indifferent to it, but they're sort of riding around me, like forming a perimeter around me.
Okay, can you read the sitch for me?
Yeah, sure.
Or no, do something under fire.
Under fire? Okay. I rolled a 9, and that's a
plus cool.
plus 1.
All right, so you get a 10. So your strategy is working out really well for you. You see people to both your right and your left working their way, just falling into like pit traps and like oil that's being set on fire and then dumped across roadways, and you and your men are able to just avoid and work your way through the streets. Yeah, I think you're doing exactly what you're planning on doing, as just like a survival mechanism. Gary, you recognize that Gary and Scott aren't among the pack of your men hanging out with you, and you're not surprised by that at all. Of course. About this time that you see Stitch and Zed, you see the filth start rolling in, and like the checkerboard pattern is very prevalent, and I'm kind of thinking of like Beta Boys from Warhammer 40k. You know, the Cult of Speed.
Yeah.
Who the orcs who ride a bunch of motorcycles
because it makes them go faster.
Yeah. They paint things red because it makes you go fast.
Yep.
So the red and checkerboard bikes are rolling through, and they're kind of just laughing, and you get just a nasty whiff, not only of like broken down engines, but even over that you can smell their like horrible flesh, like of just the stench that surrounds them,
like cottage cheese homo smell.
Yes.
Ugh.
And so they roll up, and Stitch, right in front of you, you can see someone who's injured, and as they're rolling up, and one of the filth are just like goes up to the injured guy and just puts a bullet right in his head, and then strips off some item of clothing that he found valuable, and then rolls on to someone else.
As he's doing that and like rolling off, I'm just like, that was my customer, you asshole.
Okay, so